Hello and welcome to Aspiebloggen podcast episode 10. I am your host, Tommy Eriksson. In today's episode I talk about pod feeding and how this podcast will go on hiatus. This is a podcast where I bring you my views on things in an attempt to let my voice be heard and to grow my confidence. For too long I have not voiced my opinions on the things that matter to me, but that will all change now. Some of what I will bring up will be about Aspiebloggen and autism related stuff, since that is what my blog is about. But most will be my opinions on things and what is going on in my life. My website is at aspiebloggen.se. There you will find the show notes for each episode as well as my other blog posts. The blog itself is in Swedish, but this podcast and the corresponding show notes will always be in English. Now let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter J. So what is pod feeding? Well, as the name suggests, is when a podcast episode start to be released on later dates than they should, and more time passes between them. Well, I would like to add that the spirit to continue the podcast just isn't there anymore, and the quality of the episodes that do come out isn't at the same level as older episodes. What does this have to do with this podcast, I hear you ask? Well, I've never really had the drive needed when making this podcast, and now I realize that it's time I stop fooling myself. Basically, what I'm saying is that if I can't bring the podcast the passion it deserves, then I shouldn't podcast. It is better to wait until I can give it my best. I will continue blogging, but I want to write as big posts as the script for this show. I hope that I will be able to come back later in 2015, but until my disability pension is approved, I don't really have an energy for anything. So I will rather spend the little energy I have on other stuff and hold off on this podcast until I have more energy. But unless something remarkable happens before this podcast goes live, then I don't have any audience that will miss me when I'm gone, so no one starting to listen later will even notice it unless they look at the post dates. Yes, I'm writing this on the same day as episode 8, which I should be finishing. I will not delete anything, and I hope that iTunes allows for pod feeding so I don't get unlisted. But if that happens, I'll just reapply. It wasn't hard the first time. I never did list the episode in any other directory other than Blueberries, so no worries there. If you want to contact me, then comment on my blog over at aspiebloggen.se or use the feedback form. The show notes for this episode will be at aspiebloggen.se/10. And that will be all for now. Until next time, whenever that might be, take care.